What's poppin', everybody? This is Ray Rawlins from the Ray Rawlins Network, and I'm joined by Mr. Alex Payne. Today on this wonderful Tuesday, we are talking about Futurama, Season 1, Episode 2. The series has landed. Alex Payne! Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Talk to me.
I'm right here.
Okay, since you're here and you're a big fan of the series, well, I have you do this any other review we're doing. But let's give us a series, not a series breakdown, but an episode breakdown.
Episode
What
breakdown.
happens in this episode? What happened in this episode? Let everybody know before we get to talking about it.
Well, the episode starts off with them introducing the other members of the Planet Express crew, and then they go off on their first mission, which is to the moon. And Fry, being a person of our era, obviously, like going to the moon is a big idea for him, just like
Right.
how it would be to any of us. Like it seems so out of reach. So they go to the moon, and apparently there's a theme park on there now, which I could realistically see that happening at some time. Like I really could. But that's like the rough outline. Shenanigans ensue. So yeah, that's the episode without spoiling everything for everyone.
Okay, well, I'm going to let Alex leave you all in the dark, but
In the dark.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
man.
tell
They
you.
wouldn't enjoy it if we tell them every single thing that happens if they watch
I
it.
suppose I suppose not. I suppose not. But that's season 1, episode 2. My first thoughts, honestly, like I don't know. I can't say I'm a big fan of this episode, to be honest with you. Like
And
it felt pretty lame to me, to be honest.
and that's the thing. I will agree with you on that. This has never been one of my favorite episodes. Like I honestly, when I was because I was started rewatching it the other day after we did the first review, and I completely
Hmm.
skipped over this episode. I should tell you my opinion on it right here. Now, that being said, I do think this is still a pretty decent and funny episode. If you want to
Right.
lead into that, I my my main three funny moments that I could think of that got to me immediately was when that sketch they had at the beginning when the scientist guy, I don't know why the hell I'm saying that, like I don't know his name because I kind of can't remember, but for the moment for some reason.
Is it the doc?
um
No, not the doctor, but I think
no
I know who
the
you're talking about.
yeah the
I forgot his
the
name
old
too.
guy, the professor, that's what it is, professor.
His uncle or his nephew?
Yeah, his nephew, the professor. That's what they call him, the professor. But anyway, so he showed the commercial, and it was the big burst and everything. It's like do big bursts like that really exist? And he's like, no, no. And then he goes in the room, and one hatches out the egg, and the baby bird bites his head, and something about that was just absolutely hilarious to me. I don't know why. That killed
I
me.
tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing about this guy, the professor man. He is the most slimiest motherfucker out of that entire series, and that's the truth. Like
And
I
that and
don't
that
get
leads me into
why.
my second point, though. That leads me into the second thing that I thought was hilarious was when Hermes had Leela signing the contract, and she was
Oh
reading out the
yeah,
things, and he was like, and then she was like, extreme sonic diarrhea, and he was like, no, you don't want that. That, that was just hilarious to me. And the third thing that, like, I think I remember because there was another one that really made me laugh, but it's not coming to me immediately. But the other one was when like they first introduced Zoidberg, and he started up and he was like, and that
oh yeah.
that shit was fucking that killed me. I don't know why. Just that
That's the
sound and the
doctor,
way he
right?
like,
Doctor
yeah,
Zoidberg. I
yeah.
like the part. I like the part where he's telling Fry like, open your mouth and make the not the I sound but the do 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 do, and he tried to do it, and he was like, he
My
was like,
mother was a saint.
oh Lord, I thought it was gonna be some crazy ass shit like he's gonna stick something up his ass or something. I don't know. I really did
Listen,
expect that.
listen. You're gonna learn that Zoidberg. They didn't show it very much in this episode, but you're gonna learn that Zoidberg is one of the most hilarious characters in the show. Period.
This is my first time
Oh,
seeing the
you know
series.
what? You know what?
Go ahead.
That the other thing that made me die was when Amy realized that the keys was in the thing, and she was like, "Could you get the keys out of there?" It's like, what do I look like, a guy who's not lazy?
I'll tell you one thing. Another, I told you my first moment that I got a good laugh out of, and that's the thing with this episode. I'll touch on it a little bit later. But my second thing that I had a good laugh out of is motherfucking Bender. I love that fucking robot. I love that robot. He
Everyone
just be
does.
having me rolling sometimes. Like when they're on the moon and they go to that redneck dude house, right? And he's
That's
got the
another funny
robot
one too. It's
daughters.
like, this is my daughter, Anime. Woo! This is my other daughter. I forgot what that name was. And then she's like, woo! And then you got this big ass, ugly ass, freaking car looking thing roll up.
Crusher.
Whoa, whoa,
Whoa, whoa. Sound like the
the
damn band and
Crushinator.
shit.
The Crushinator.
and then Bender comes over and I guess supposedly tries to smash her. And then I think Fry was like, "Yo, you didn't sleep with the Crushinator, did you?" He's like, "Of course not. That's when you got a romance first." I'm like, "Boy, come on, Bender, man. Come on, man. You should know better than that, man. Come on, not my boy Bender. Don't do that. Go with the other
That's,
two, man."
oh, man,
Any
that's
other points
hilarious.
though? Any other points you thought was funny?
Um, let's see. The Crushinator shit was hilarious to me too. Yeah.
I think we're kind of glancing over the fact that in the year, I think it was what 3000. It is
Yeah.
like the whole thing of being on the moon. It seems so far fetched to us now. We're in 2019. That shit was taking place in, I want to say, what, when they were writing it, like 1999, I would assume.
Yeah, something like that, probably.
So obviously a long time before right now, and even all this shit seems far fetched to me, a amusement park on the moon and whatnot. But I
It's
think the picture,
normalized for them.
exactly, that's what I'm trying to get to. And like you even mentioned, Fry coming from the past and being like, "Wow, this is so cool, this is so beautiful," and Lilo over here just like, "Yeah, fuck it, come on, go, 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 fucking tourist motherfucker." Like it means nothing to her, but him, it means the entire world. I think
Oh,
the
that
part that
reminds me. I don't mean to interrupt, but something else that I thought was hilarious was when when they crashed the car, it's like, oh, we're trapped. Every man for themselves. Then he jumps and just
Oh
drops
yeah, yeah,
Lilo.
that one's too.
Lila, help me. That was funny. That was funny. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Leela from I say episode 1, she came off to me to be this fucking bitch. Okay, she came off to be this goddamn bitch. And but that part, the last part of that episode where she basically gave in to Fry's like, "Yo, man, fuck it. You don't have to take your career chip. We'll just be deserters and whatnot, job deserters." And even right here in this episode, she kind of showed that she has a heart when she tried to empathize with Fry, like, "Yo, man, the moon's beautiful." When she kind of tore into him and got him all down and shit, and he had explained and stuff like, "Man, you know, this is all I dreamed of. The moon's like something we could have never reached in my era." And I thought that was pretty. That was pretty nice. That was a nice touch on the
Yeah,
episode. Like,
and you could say like, because it's funny because we was talking about SpongeBob yesterday and talking about like the intricacies of the story. And I would say like the intricacies of the story in this one are intentional. Because thinking about it, I really think this is kind of like symbolism for like recognizing the beauty in things that you're very familiar with that you
no,
tend to
yeah,
forget about.
exactly. Don't take shit for granted. That's what it is. Do not take shit for granted. And that's the main point. And that's what I like about some cartoons. Like they have that hidden shit that you gotta sit down and realize when they have those monologues from those characters. South Park has it a lot too. When the kids be talking about, "You know what I learned today? This and that, da da da, woo woo woo." And they come put it in a nice big touching point that even though it's a outlandish adult episode, it's kind of edgy. There's some things that even kids can learn. It's adult humor, but kids can learn some shit from it. Even adults, and that's what I appreciate about this episode. So that right there, gained an extra point from me. Now, since we're already talking about like I brought up points and shit, of course we're gonna move into the final segment of this video, the final rating. Alex Payne, what is your final rating for this episode?
Hmm. My rating. See, okay, so I gave the first episode a 7.5. So obviously, I think this episode is not as good as that one. So I'll have to
I
go.
don't think
See,
you should rate it by comparison, honestly.
no,
I
but
say
I'm
on
just
a
saying
scale
because
of
like
1 to 10.
because I'm saying if I think that episode was a 7, and I thought that one was better than this one, I would obviously have to rate it lower. But
Okay.
what I'm
Well,
saying is,
we rate differently, so go ahead.
um,
Because I don't
but
think
see,
that the episode before was a 7 by any means, 7.5 by any means.
well, that was by my perspective. Because again, you trust me, you'll start to see once we get into the really really deep shit. But
Okay.
um, what am I saying? Yeah. See, my issue with the episode is I think I'm just tired of it. And that sounds bad, but I just mean because I think I've seen this episode a lot of times, so I'm just like, but I do think it's like when you eat something a lot, but you know, like if you're tired of eating steak, you know steak is great, but you
Yeah.
just don't want to eat it.
Right.
And I feel
Right.
like that's
Right.
because even though I'm kind of sick of this episode, I still got a few laughs, and I could sit through it with no problem. Um, so putting that all into it, and if you know, because I think the story was well, it was a really good story and everything, and the symbolisms and all that other shit in there. So I think I am gonna agree with you and go off of a like. I'm gonna give it a critique. I'm gonna give it a critical view instead of a personal view, and give it a. I think I'll give this one a 7.5 to an 8. Yeah, I think I'll stick with 7.5.
Okay.
You can maybe argue it for it to be higher, technically speaking. Because
I
again,
wouldn't
like
say
it,
I wouldn't say higher. I'll say this. Like you said, in comparison to the first episode,
but it did
it
have a lot of
ain't.
funny moments though.
It did have a lot of funny moments. Um, I just personally, I don't see this as an episode I'll go back and watch again. Like the first
Hmm.
episode, I can watch that shit over and over and over again. But this
Hmm.
episode is kind of like you know,
I'm
it's
right there
not
with you.
up my alley. But like they say, you can't win them all. So I will say it did have a good story. I like the whole point of you can't be taking shit for granted. Sit back and look at the simpler things in life. Learn how to appreciate shit more. Point
And you
with
can look at
Mila
it
and
the other
Fry at
way
the end.
too. You can look at it the other way too. It's like being exposed to things you never thought you'd be exposed to, and seeing what they are for real.
Exactly right. And like I said, this episode did have a lot of funny moments. There's a couple times it made me laugh. So being the first time I seen this episode, I'll give it a solid 7. I mean, it's not the best episode, don't get me wrong, but it's not the worst episode. As far as I know, people who watch the series for a long time, like you, Alex, you probably would disagree. Oh, maybe this is the worst episode here. But you said you started rewatching and just glazed over. So it's really nothing. But as a person who just started watching the series, I have not seen this episode before in my life or any episodes past that. I'll give this a nice solid 7, which is a C, 7 out of 10, 70%, a good C right there. So that's my final thoughts and opinions on it. You got anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
All right.
Make
Well,
sure
with
you
that,
leave the crushinator alone. Just don't touch the crushinator.
yeah, don't touch them giant robot cheeks. With that all being said, my name is Ray Rawlins. He's Alex Payne. This is the Ray Rawlins Network. We be talking them cartoons, man, and we do it daily. Hit that sub button, hit that like, leave a comment, tell us how you love us, how you hate us, and we will see you when we see you. Peace.